You are listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
It's Alicia.
Hey, I'm Tricia.
And we're so glad that you've joined us today. We certainly are living in unprecedented times. You've probably heard people say that. But I have found that as we now jump back into a somewhat normal life, that there's even more division about masks. No masks, 6 feet away, how many people. Everything seems to be a debate right now. In fact, I said the other day to a friend, I was like, every time you log on Facebook, do you feel like somebody's screaming at you? Because that's how I feel.
Yeah,
like immediately when I log in, I feel like, wait a minute. And that's part of the time in which we live. And there's so many different layers to it, I think. Jumping into this topic about the conflict that comes along with a pandemic. You know, we've never been here before. So this is uncharted territory for us all. And but I'm so torn. We had one situation where we went to the hairdresser to get our hair cut, and they requested that we wear masks. So we did. But in my regular just grocery store, if I'm running in and running out, I don't wear a mask. But I'd stay far enough away from people, and there usually aren't that many people in the grocery store where I go to. So I don't know. Where do you girls line up?
For me, it's really hard because I didn't think something like wearing masks would divide people.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
That people would be so opinionated about if you wear a mask or if you don't wear a mask. And that's been very hard to see. And not just the masks, but should we stay closed? You know, a few weeks ago when things just started to open, people were like, reopen. And then I had equally a number of people, stay home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who do I listen to? And surprised by certain people's opinions, and then personally just trying not to judge anybody. How do you have your own opinions or convictions about things and not judge others for when they have a different opinion?
Right.
And that's been just a struggle for me, and it's been stressful to watch because every time I go on Facebook, someone has posted something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go.
Yeah.
And then people have to comment, and I just want everybody to kind of be in a respectful place.
Sure.
But I think it's harder because it's a health crisis, and people feel like their opinion is the, and everyone's sharing different research and different numbers, and we're not getting,
it's confusing.
Yeah, it is. It's just an extremely confusing time, and it's been stressful.
I'll tell you when it changed for me. We were actually doing a professional development thing that we all did through the station, and one girl was talking, and she said, we developed a family plan. And I was like, And I said, tell me more about that. And so we got to talking about it, and she said, we decided that, and she's got elderly parents that are normally at risk for COVID-19. And she has a son that works in a job that is considered essential. So he's been going out the whole time. Her parents live with her. So, they were in this quandary about, okay, he's going out and coming in and being around people, and they're stuck here at home. And she said, we had to come up with a family plan. And she said, basically what that looked like was if we know that we're going to be going out to a grocery store, in order to protect my parents, we wear a mask so that we don't carry anything home to them. We have made arrangements in our household to keep our son he can still see them and visit with them, but not in close proximity just because of he's been out and back and forth. And she said, we had to come up with that family plan. This is what it looks like for our family, and this is what we're willing to do. And I thought that is a great idea, and I'd not heard anybody say that. And I think that screaming on Facebook is everybody's attempt to come up with a family plan, but you have to remember that your family plan doesn't have to be everybody's family plan,
Yeah.
And to allow people the room and the grace to do what they feel like they should do. In whatever, because we don't know. I honestly believe, every day there comes out another study that, masks don't work and social distancing doesn't work. And then there's another study comes out that says we need to social distance more and for longer amounts of time because that's helping. And you need to wear a mask, but you only need to wear a mask if there's something different every day. So I think the point that I got out of that whole thing was I need to come up with a family plan. This is what it's going to mean for my family, and these are the decisions that we're going to make, and these are the things that we're going to do. And a lot of people like to play the faith card in there and say, oh, well, you don't trust God, And I don't know who I saw somebody posted, but they're like, I trust God, but I wear a seatbelt. You know, I trust God, but I stop at the stop signs when they're there, you know, because it's kind of the law. And although this is not a law per se, you do take those precautions to be, you know, healthy. And so I think there's just all this noise. And I think we so easily slipped back into, I mean, we were at such a sweet place of taking care of one another and cheering one another on.
Waving at each other, always, hey, yay.
I felt like in this protective bubble when we were all locked down because everybody was on the same playing field.
And it was like checking on your neighbors, maybe that you didn't even know. You met them for the first time and saying, can I get you a gallon of milk when I go? Or I'm doing grocery pickup. Do you need anything? We so quickly slipped from that back into, I'm right, you're wrong, shut up and sit down. And I'm sorry if you have kids listening and they're not supposed to say shut up. I'm, by the way, a poor example for your children. You should just know that from the get-go. But I think we so easily slipped back into that finger pointing, yelling at each other.
I think it's fear. I think we're scared, and I think we're kind of pushing it on other people, pointing fingers because of the fear. I have found that what I have to do is my own heart work. Because I would go into the grocery store, and in one situation I was wearing a mask, and then I see someone who's not wearing a mask. And in my mind, I'm like angry with that person. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know that person. I don't know what happened to them. And then the next week, my dad needed something from the grocery store. I didn't have my mask. Guess what? I ran in the grocery store and I got something for him because my elderly dad needed this thing. And so then I'm reminding myself of that woman in the grocery store. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have any right to judge anybody else. I don't know their story. I don't know their situation. So it's heart work that I have found. And when I'm fearful and when I am tired, I'm more likely to get angry or feel judgmental. And so God's put it on my heart to not judge other people.
And you know, I mean, just as you're saying that, I'm thinking, when do I go in the grocery store? When I'm tired.
Right.
Seriously,
right.
I'm hungry and I'm tired always when I go to the grocery store because we've run out of something and I've got to go. And so that is like my emotions are already heightened. So thank you for pointing that out because that's a good reminder to me when I've ordered 9 pounds of crinkle cut French fries, yet I don't have sandwich bread so we can make a sandwich. Oh, my word.
Forgot the ketchup.
So hard. But anyway, you know, I think it is important to remember and to put yourself in someone else's shoes before you go shouting at them and you know.
Even in your mind. Because you know, it's so God's calling it, you know, he calls it the way he sees it. So if I'm thinking it, then I'm responsible for it, even if I didn't write it on Facebook because I
say that again for the ones in the back. Say it
I'm
again.
Saying it for me because I need to hear it. Like I'm responsible for it. If I'm thinking it, I'm responsible for it, and God will take it away. He'll help me, but I have to call it what it is.
That applies to so many things going on in our country right now. You know,
yeah,
because some people will be quick to post, you know, the racial divide that's going on in our country. Well, I'm not a racist. Well, if you have those thoughts in your mind, then you need to deal with that.
Yes.
I saw a beautiful post from your pastor, actually, who talked about that very thing in your mind, you know, having those thoughts and dealing with them when they're there. And I think that's so true. We allow ourselves grace when it comes to thinking, but not the right kind of grace. We don't hold tight and be a good gatekeeper of those thoughts. It's an excuse. Yeah, exactly. I'm guilty of that too.
Well, I am too, and I'm reading a lot about thoughts, how powerful our thoughts are, you know, and that they matter. And God has given us the ability to work on our thoughts. We are not a victim of our thoughts. That's right.
Yeah.
You identify them, you take them captive, and you replace them with something better.
Yeah.
God's truth.
You know what? I think it's, I should know this because I'm not kidding y'all at all. A Beth Moore Bible study called Breaking Free. Have you heard of it?
Yeah,
It's a really hard one. It took me 7 years to get through.
Really? Honestly, 7 years?
Yeah. I think it's like 12 weeks or something. It took me 7 years.
Her studies are a little long, but that's
no
7 years.
Because I kept pouting during it. You know, she kept like challenging you to do hard stuff. And I was like, I ain't doing that.
Your lunch.
Beth Moore, you just take that. And so it took me 7 years. It took me, I did. And I finally finished and I emailed her team at her office and said, I just want you to know I might be the longest student in Breaking Free y'all have ever had. 7 years, just saying. But I'm sure they thought, okay, she's takes her a while. Anyway, but she likens, and I'm pretty sure this is where this came from. She likens our thoughts to wallpaper on the walls of our minds. You know, you don't readily go into that and say, "Oh, I love this wallpaper." But it's kind of in the background, and it kind of shapes and forms and builds a culture in your mind of things that then come out of your mouth. And ever since I had that word picture in my mind, I'm like, what kind of wallpaper is in my mind right now?
Right. That's great.
Like,
that's very
kind of
helpful.
what's running in the background that could come up later and come out my mouth, because y'all know me. I'm bad to say stuff, and I'm like, oh, gosh, I wish I hadn't have said that. But in fact, you hear it most every week here on the Girl Talk podcast. There are things that I say that I'm like, oh, man, I wish I hadn't said that. And I am the world's worst. You know, I have to apologize a lot because I say things and then I find out that I hurt somebody, not intentionally at all, but I have to go back and apologize a lot. I'm like, that's not what I meant, and that's not the spirit in which I'm. And so I have to do a lot of explaining and God is working on me in that area and continues to, and has been for 48 years, honestly. It just is a good reminder to me that even those little things that you think aren't big things become the wallpaper of your mind and start to form habits and opinions and beliefs that somehow will work their way into your life if you're not careful. So I think you are so true. We do have to be a good gatekeeper of our minds and what goes on. It's the same way with what goes on in your mind during this COVID-19. When quarantine first started, I was like, cool, this is like an extended snow day, you know? And the first week I was like all about it. I was like, let's make snow cream and let's
clean everything. Remember when we cleaned everything?
Yes.
That went away.
Yes, that went away very quickly. And I was like, let's make homemade cookies and share them with the neighbors. You know, I mean, I was all about it. But then after that first week, we like settled in. I was like, oh, stink. This is where we are. You know, this is going to be a while. And then the third week, I was like, this for real ain't over yet.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote
rainy
in
days.
my journal at the beginning, I said, school's out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I looked at it just the other day. I was like, oh, man, we had no idea.
No
idea. We weren't going back.
Yeah.
And we still don't know. I think that's the other really kind of thing right now is that we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. We don't know what's going to happen next winter. Like, the uncertainty of it is
maddening.
Yes.
And it affects us all and in different ways. And I have to remember that the person who, you know, I'm wanting to have that dialogue with that's not so positive on Facebook, they could be so stressed out about what's going to happen with school in the fall or their job or how are they going to pay that bill, you know?
Right.
Well, and I think that's a healthy place to be, is to consider the other side of it, because I have found for myself, like I was talking the first week, it was like extended snow day. Second week, I'm okay. But like, really, y'all for real, let's draw this up. Let's, you know, and then, you know, because we can get anything in 2 days. I mean, surely they'll have a cure for this by Friday. Amazon can get me, you know,
Amazon 2-day shipping for that cure.
Right. So why in the world are we having to wait this long? You know, but then like on into it. But in managing my thoughts, I found that if I started the day like feeling heavy, like it got worse throughout the day, and that became the wallpaper in my mind. And I would go downhill. It was like a snowball rolling downhill. And I had to make intentional choices to say, I'm not going to engage with Facebook right now because I cannot do it. My sister called me one day and she was like, have you seen the news? Have you seen that? And I was like, I can't.
Right.
I don't have the mental capacity to be able to handle all that negative in my mind. I just go downhill way too quick. And so I think it's important to remember that if you're listening to this podcast and you've been isolated and you're like, this is filling the gap for my girlfriend time, I completely understand it. But I will say, please make some intentional steps to try to get out and connect with people, because I think that can be a dangerous. Somebody said, and I've read this in an article somewhere, probably on Facebook, but they said the second crisis of COVID-19 is going to be the mental health crisis because people have been isolated and they haven't connected with others. And I went to a baby shower a couple weeks ago. I was probably awkward. I was so excited. I was like, yeah. Oh, my word, it's so good to see you. Now, they were like, bag it up. You know, I'm sure they were just like, okay, you are way too much. Because I'm too much on a normal day. But during a pandemic, I'm way too much.
Extra. I love it.
So extra. There ain't even a word.
We love your extra,
and
though.
it's, you know, it's such a stressful time And
for everybody.
It is.
Yeah.
And so the other day I was very stressed about what we were, planning and what we were doing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I? And it was the morning. I think it was Saturday or Sunday morning. And I went to the Bible app and I just started looking through the devotionals and I found a new one and I'm like, I need to do this right now. And it, just like you said, Carol, I did because I did it in the morning.
Yep.
It was about anxiety. It was, I think it was a Max Lucado. It just gave me peace the entire day. I just was like, God, this is all yours. I know you're in control. I know you can handle all this. I'm giving it all to you. And my day just was so much better. I wasn't afraid. I didn't have stress. I actually was able to enjoy the day. But I had to get to that reminder of, okay, I need to have something fulfilling me right now, filling my thoughts that are different than all the stress and everything that is going and whirling on around me and the unknown of what's happening.
That is so true, and I have had a similar experience with that. I did a Bible study, and it talked about starting your day with God. And so basically what I have started doing is I will not check Facebook. I will not look at the news. I will not do anything until I spend some time in prayer because the second I open my mind to the Facebook thing or the news thing, I can spiral away. And the same is true for lying in bed, thinking about my day, starting to stress out about, I've got this I've got to do and that I've got to do. How am I going to get it done? Can spiral me off into a bad place. But if I start first with God, and He has been so faithful ever since I started doing this. If I start first with God in that morning, then everything else works itself out. But I have to do that. I can't look at Facebook. I can't open the news. Sometimes I'll do my email, but only if I'm looking for something from Amazon. But apart from that, don't let yourself get thinking about the day until you get yourself thinking about the God who's going to control that day. That has helped me so much.
That's good stuff. And I tell you, you have been really... y'all's friendship is so important to me, and I've realized that more now than ever before because I've missed you guys so much. But especially Tricia, you have reminded me to check in on myself, like just do a check in and see how you're doing. And during the middle part of my day, there's this one thing that I've been struggling with, and during the middle part of my day, I'm really bad to go, I've spent the whole morning worrying or giving that attention or struggling with
and
that.
And you don't even realize it.
No.
That was me the other day. I'm like, I had been stressed out for days, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that was happening. It's just all this stuff around us is negative. Even
and it's loud, like you said.
Yeah, it's very loud.
In our face, and all the different opinions. And the other thing is they're coming from loved ones and friends. And you're trying to say, okay, well, Tricia thinks this way and Carol thinks this way and I love them both. And how do I? And it's like making you reassess like your own opinions and thoughts and your own personal plan. Right. And, I just have to get to the point where like, this is my plan and this is what and I'm okay with everyone isn't going to be the same. That's not the way we're built. It's great to have different opinions and different ideas, but somehow we have to center ourselves so that doesn't get all muddy.
Yeah. That's it. And when we look back on this time, will that really be a hill that was worth dying on?
Right. Right.
I don't think it will. I want to look back on this time and see it a time of growth and a time of being able to return to the things that were really most important, And so I don't know. I don't know that we have come up with a lot of answers, but I think checking in on yourself is a good thing. Making sure you're connecting with people, whatever that looks like, even if it's, I know a Zoom call or a FaceTime is not the same as being face-to-face with people. I get that. But it does help.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
We've been doing our prayer. The women at the office have been doing a prayer time on Zoom. I love that.
Yeah.
Special.
And even if you have a friend who's got a big front porch, go sit 6 feet apart and just visit for a while. But find ways to connect with people because I think we as women have a need for that, and I'm finding that with my own girls that I go to church with. We're feeling that need, especially now, to connect with one another.
We're hungry.
We're hungry
for connection.
So good. I don't think I'll ever say again, I have to go to church. I think I'll say I get to go to church. And boy, wouldn't that be a gift if we look back on this time and are able to say that. We hope you're doing well. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email us, girltalk@thelightfm.org. You can also connect through the Facebook page. Just look for Girlfriends of the Girl Talk podcast. And that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next time we gather back around these microphones for the Girl Talk podcast.